We're sorry for the delay. We were slightly held up. Thank you for being so patient and waiting for us. And Saif Ali Khan, welcome to Express Adda.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for making time for us and being here today.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Just a little bit about Express Adda. I'm sure you do interviews day in and day out and all of that, and so do we. But Adda is a space where the Express group kind of keeps, as we think, as a celebration of conversation. At a time when there's a premium on silence, you're told how to keep your ideas within a certain bandwidth, and you either celebrate just the soundbite or people don't say anything at all. We try and talk and discuss things and take things forward. We've had Amartya Sen here, we've had economic advisors, we've had a sportsman like Rohit Sharma, we've had some very interesting, powerful politicians who came here and spoke about things other than politics. So Saif Ali Khan, it's a privilege to have him here today. He's a national award winner, he's a Padma Shri, and he's one of our finest, well-read, and for the want of a better word, a cerebral actor. So Saif is, of course, many other things which a lot of people here would know about. I mean, he cooks and he does lovely treasure hunt clues, and he's a man of many parts. So we hope we'll talk to him a bit about his journey, a little bit about cinema, and of course the world in general. So Saif, is there anything you want to start with, or something about how you're feeling today, and then we'll get into it?
Well, no, I mean, I've been watching an American sitcom called Last Man Standing. I don't know if you've seen it. It stars Tim Allen. I think he's a Republican. It's quite politically incorrect. And so many issues they raise on that show were fascinating, because I think we do live in times where celebrities, and not without cause, should be very cautious, are very cautious about what they say. People are generally cautious about what they say because things get blown out of proportion so quickly. And I think, I don't know if that's okay. I think we live in so much fear. And whether that fear is founded or unfounded, I'm not sure. Whether it's just social media, whether it's nameless faces making comments, or whether that can actually translate into any kind of damage, I'm not sure. But it makes me a little uncomfortable to think that we can't speak our minds. So that's one reason I accepted this invitation, in order to share thoughts with you, hopefully to be as honest as possible, and not to be worried or scared. So here we are. Good evening.
Okay, Saif, thanks for that. That was a nice sort of a state of the times. We just starting from your own journey, Saif, there's something that your mother, Sharmila Tagore, said in an interview which was very striking. And she said that, like all non-conformist parents who want their children to immediately conform, she wanted Saif and her, other children to settle down in school. But she says that he always preferred the seas to the comfort of the harbor. And you had this education abroad and all that, and you decided to be an actor. So take us through that, when you decided to kind of maybe not pursue something more conventional and wanted to become an actor. Any memories, any things?
Well, I mean, I was very lucky. My father told me when I was very young, he said I could forget about any kind of inheritance from him, and that he doesn't have the kind of money that I'm imagining. And growing up in Delhi, where there were a lot of wealthy people, he said, you're not like that. He said, what I will do is send you to a good school and hopefully to a good university. And I think that's the greatest gift I can give you. And the rest is up to you. So I managed to get into Winchester College. It's a very academic institution. And sadly, after a while, I kind of lost complete interest in academics and pursuing anything that would lead to some kind of 9-to-5 job. I found that frightening, and I knew at a very young age that that's not what I wanted. And it was a great cause of worry to my parents, because my father, having been to Winchester and Oxford and had a very analytical kind of mind, used to say, sit down with a piece of paper and say what you can do, what you can't do, what you like doing. He used to make these lists. And anyway, to cut a long story short, everyone was worried that what will this guy do? And somebody came to Bombay, B.R. Chopra, the late Ravi Chopra, came to Delhi to meet my parents and offered an ad to me and something to do with movies. And for the first time, I felt a sense of purpose, a sense of direction. I thought moving to Bombay, renting my own little flat and working on a creative enterprise like a film would be just the most exciting thing I could think of for everything that came with it. The different hours, the creativity, the new people. And I just remember that. And I was very, very fortunate to, I think, probably come into films at a time where the audiences were also quite forgiving. I was straight out of England. I used to speak Hindi with a bit of an accent. But people were kind, the press were kind, and I think I got better. And have been in love with that profession ever since. So I think a lot of actors have started like that, at least in this city. Not the most brilliant academic record. Some have.
Saif, what you did, I think, starting with Dil Chahta Hai and all, took your work to a completely different level. But in the 90s, the kind of films you did, and they did not do very well either at that time. Did you ever feel that you may want to give this up? Or were you confident that you can play a part that you
I
want to
think
do?
I had, burnt my bridges, and I think that was a good thing to do. I mean, there was just no other option except eventually succeeding. And it was very frightening because at various times there seemed to be nothing working, and it was quite disheartening. Also, the 90s, I think, was a terrible time generally for movies. There were a lot of people making movies who probably shouldn't have been making movies, and a lot of people acting in movies that also had no business being there. It wasn't a creative time. It seemed, everything from the underworld to, just not a very appealing kind of intellectual person was making films. And I think somewhere the name of the game became trying to get as many people as possible into the theater and to constantly dumb things down, So there was no connect, really, between me and what I was doing. And as you say, that changed when Farhan Akhtar offered me Dil Chahta Hai. For the first time, you weren't playing another version of Mr. Bachchan or, Shashi Kapoor. You were playing a guy in a t-shirt and shorts. And it was uncharted territory, really, for all of us, because the seniors looked down and said, this is never going to work. And, you're doing live sound and trying to be all organized and trying to make India like Hollywood. There was a lot of resistance to that kind of progress. But Farhan was pretty clear what he wanted. And it was so liberating being part of something like that.
But what happened, you think, in the new millennium? I mean, this is 2001 and films change. And you did an incredible number of and kinds of characters. And at a time, and I'm sure you've answered this ad nauseum, but take us through that, you can't afford to do too much acting if you're a star. So, the actor thing. But you kind of defied that and you did these flawed characters.
I guess it depends what your mental image is or what your ideal was. And at that point, I really looked up to... American actors like Johnny Depp, who consequently have become superstars, but at that time were people who made really interesting choices, And despite being box office, friendly and saleable, they constantly did stuff that was a little edgier and I thought cooler. And I always wanted to think of myself like that the dream for me would be to be saleable at the box office, but at the same time to promote something a little more edgy. And maybe I shouldn't go so far abroad as to look at Johnny Depp, maybe even looking at my mother's career. Someone who was always a mainstream star and saleable, but would also promote, whether it's Bengali cinema or something a little more artistic, is what I think gives longevity and an interesting angle to an actor, and something I think we need to do.
Saif, I mean, there's lots said about your aesthetic sense and and your creative pursuits as opposed to just kind of maybe running around trees. I mean, that's a very good thing to do, but perhaps not always. So how did you kind of the kind of person you are? You read a lot, and you probably have thoughts which don't always kind of, find an immediate fit with a lot of scripts and all. So was Bombay different or difficult for somebody like you?
Initially, like I say, in the 90s it was a different time, but after Dil Chahta Hai, there's been lots of things in common
Why
with
did
so
that
many.
change, you think?
I think films is just a reflection of what the country is going through.
Is it the multiplex?
The multiplex is another conversation. I mean, the kind of films, I remember Aditya Chopra telling me that this is the market we've got to hit. When he started with Hum Tum and films like that, and Ek Hasina Thi, he said, this is the market that we've got to look at. That's an entire different conversation. I mean, you mentioned the National Award for Hum Tum. A lot of people think I got it for Omkara, but it was for Hum Tum. And recently there was some uproar with people, objecting to old Akshay getting it for Rustam. And then somebody wrote, well, I mean, if they've given it to Saif for Hum Tum, of course they can give it to him, because it was quite offensive, I thought. And I want to defend that,
Please
because
do, yeah.
It was such an easy movie, but I remember Aditya Chopra telling me this film goes against all the normal films we've ever made here, The heroine's going to get married to somebody else, then her husband's going to die, and then you're going to sleep with her, and then she's going to, and I actually want you to kiss her, that also hasn't happened before, and then she's going to turn around and say, don't feel sorry for me, you can't just, marry me or go out with me because you slept with me. So all this was really progressive. And there were no mother and father. The only issue is your own mind. And the whole film was a series of conversations. And I thought, I can't imagine how this will run. And the idea was to be as charming as possible and to make those scenes, which are just conversations, hold. And there were some 3-4 minute conversations without a cut. And when we pulled that off and it looked easy and effortless, I take a little bit of offense when people say, oh, it's so easy, nothing. I think it changed cinema in a way. And is the kind of precursor to all the kind of modern love stories we're seeing today. And all credit to Aditya Chopra for doing that. And I think, we were successful in making it look so easy that people don't take it seriously.
Talking of Omkara, that's one of your more favorite roles, right? When you play Iago, you play Langda Tyagi. So there is something about Shakespeare and you as well, right? I mean, you seem to be reciting a lot of Shakespeare on television and scared a lot of us when we saw reruns of that on YouTube. That was frightening. You shouldn't do these things.
That was a mistake. My host was...
Why did you do that?
I don't know why she brought up Shakespeare. Who was it? Anisha Beg on Night Out. She's very sweet.
Yes.
But... I think the average age of that audience was about 16 or something. They wanted to talk about Go Goa Gone, and they weren't very interested. And if you did want to talk about Shakespeare, we could have pitched it at them in a slightly more interesting way. Anyway, I think Shakespeare's the greatest. Not that I'm an expert, but I studied English literature. He's the greatest dramatist, greatest writer ever, who's understood possibly all the complicated human relationships and emotions. And any actor really should read his Shakespeare, because in
India, Shakespeare now seems to have become a Romeo. Do you think Shakespeare would approve with these anti-Romeo teams or squads that are now setting out to try and decide, which couples should be?
Well, I mean, even I think even in Romeo and Juliet, they were trying to decide very much which couples should be and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's the whole problem. I think he would have objected, of course, because he would have understood that human nature is to try and control that. We live in times where I read the Express, I read the newspaper, and you have these articles about these things, but I just keep wondering who's reading them, because you don't need to tell me, how to behave and how to govern my thoughts, because generally speaking, I think I'm all right. But the people perpetrating these things, I don't think read the paper. So I keep wondering whether the message is really going out there, or whether us discussing it even beyond a point will have any effect.
But the India of today, 2017, what kind of stories do you think should now, is there a particular story in your head?
Who's, again, without sounding too pseudo, John Ruskin, I think, said that if you want to look at the progress of a country, look at 3 books: the book of its words, deeds, and the book of its art. I mean, one without the other is unreliable, but the one that will tell you the most about what's happening in a country is the art. So if you look at Hindi films and how they progress, or just even pick up a part of it, like the villain in the Hindi movie, you get a really good idea of what's been going on. I mean, there was a time when it was the Thakur and, the kind of, when it was feudal, sort of rich people, there was feudal, then it was money, then it was your parents, and then it's yourself. And now, I mean, if you look at Dangal, I think rightly so, we've identified as the villain mediocrity and backwardness is the fear and what we're worried about. And there seem to be two Indias in a kind of a schizophrenic growth, where you have fitness and energy and intelligence and a lot of positive things. And then you have the same old villains kind of weighing us down. And that seems to be the struggle.
Yeah. I mean, from the time we speak of Dil Chahta Hai as a point, 2001 is when India's changing, and cinema also reflects that and also perhaps influences that change a bit. From then on to now, in what way has India kind of, walked? What distance has it walked?
Okay, listen, I'm just saying, like, I am 46. I've grown up, I remember I've grown up in Bhopal and Pataudi. I've grown up in, it was Bombay then. And there's been massive changes. I mean, there's so much more happening in this city now, in this country now than there was. I mean, I had absolutely nothing to do in Bhopal, for many years. I used to play cricket or run around with the Jamadar's children were my best friends. This sounds really politically incorrect. And one day, I said, oh, I have shoes just like that. And then I have a belt just like that. And he was pinching my clothes. And I realized, I said, there's so much disparity between us. The only people around are the people that work for us. And I think that is something also that has gotten worse in today's country. The people working for us, the people that help us at home, that kind of disparity is something I think all of us with some money or with some privilege need to be really conscious and support and look after them like we do. We treat them like families now. We adopt their children, we send them to school, we kind of make sure that hopefully they feel it a little less. I mean, it's just crazy to be sitting and having lunch and having dinners and having these people serve you and have nothing themselves. Yeah. So in that sense, the problem is still there. But in many ways, I mean, this country has opened up so much and there's so many more opportunities than even I have seen,
Yes. Saif, I mean, Hindi cinema and all kinds of Indian cinema is like this real poster case, if you like, for inclusion. I mean, you just watch the credit roll. It's kind of got all kinds of names, identities, and people sort of come together in this amazing kind of thing. Yeah. So how do you feel about that? I mean, how do you feel about being part of an industry like that?
But that's the greatest thing about this industry, that it's so democratic. I mean, first of all, you can't control it. The only thing that works is things that people like, and that's that. And it's not actually, nepotism or anything like that. I can't control it because you could be anybody's son or whatever. Doesn't matter. I mean, you can just walk in off the street. A spot boy can become a king in this profession, in this town. And that's the most beautiful thing about it, is that it can't actually be controlled beyond a point. And it's an umbrella that brings everybody together internationally. You got people from all different religions, they just love cinema. And I think that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. Right? Do you think sort of religion is now sort of again becoming...
I just wanted to also say, like when we travel the country and we live, we see things in other cities, this is probably, the city I enjoy living in the most. That's no comment. I mean, it is a comment on other cities. I think it's the same as the West, where the kind of glamorous talent, or I wouldn't say intellectual, as a creative talent, sort of gravitates to one city, and they seem to want to come here. It's not okay to live in another city or a smaller town. You want to come here. So we should be aware of that, I think, We should be aware that this is it. We've all come here for a reason, which is to try and express something, to try and do something, and to change something, and not get too complacent about that, because in this country, we're the best there is. And we should be aware of that, I feel.
Yeah. No, I was just coming to, I mean, identities seem to be becoming an issue sometimes more than perhaps what they should be now. Do you sometimes feel boxed in for reasons of your name or your wife's name or your parents' name or the fact that you're the product of an interfaith marriage? Does that sort of, it should be of a huge reservoir of kind of identities that you carry.
I don't know. I think
should
things
help.
are changing. Things are changing. Everything is becoming a little more right wing, perhaps rightly so. I mean, it's not just India. I mean, I was having a drink in the Palace Hotel in Gstaad. There's an Italian filmmaker who said, "Oh, very smart jacket, nice guys." I said, "Hello, yeah, nice to meet you." We started chatting for a minute, and he said, "Oh, you're Muslim?" So I said, "Yes." He says, "Oh, don't tell anyone."
Did you tell anybody
No,
else just as an act of defiance?
I kind of smiled, but I thought, this is he lives in Paris. They've had some trouble there. So this is a kind of prevalent attitude now. I feel it less in my own country than in some places abroad. So I don't feel boxed in by it. But I mean, I don't know. Are we going to talk about religion? Like, I could be happy to
No,
talk
not
about
religion,
religion.
but I'm just wondering, is there something that art kind of should be doing more of because of this thing that we see happening in the world and here? I mean, in the way that Hollywood is, it's kind of, evolved into more of a civil society than perhaps the Bombay film industry has. So maybe,
I don't know about that.
maybe because of, the McCarthy era, etc., they were pulled up, Charlie Chaplin sent back. So all of that is happening and Hollywood reacts to that. I don't know, what is your sense?
They can say whatever they like about their
Yeah, they do,
president as well.
but yes, and several things, and even after they've been sworn in. So do you kind of long for that freedom? Do we see a day when that may happen here as well?
I honestly don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think we would like to be as honest as we can, and we strive towards that. But time and again, we've proven that. And maybe it's because we're still developing. Maybe it's because we're still finding our identity. I mean, it's all about timing. The world can't be judged by the same standards at the same time, because some things we have modernized because of television and fashion and certain things, but maybe a lot of our thinking, when I say I mean India in general, is still, a few years behind the West. And they've also had their time of insane nationalism where, I can think of the French Revolution or think of all kinds of eras, or as you said, the McCarthy era, where, the wrong comment or the wrong kind of thing would get you into a lot of trouble. Yeah. And they've come out of that and perhaps seem more sorted today. So maybe we need to go through it, we have to stir it up. People have to say things, express themselves, get into trouble for saying it, and then, everyone's got to eventually find a level. And I think we are doing that.
Yeah. Saif, what about, a lot has been said about your comic timing with good reason, and some of your peers have something very nice to say about Saif, that on stage he really, worries and bothers to make the other guy look good. So there's something he does which kind of, brings life to the set. But, talking about comedy in India, we see a lot of humor, some of it completely irreverential, but there's more of that happening online than it does in cinema. There's a lot more censorship, and we managed to even censor an Iranian film, The Salesman, after crossing the Iranian censors, still was censored by the Indian Censor Board. So, what's the future of comedy in India? You're doing a dark comedy next, aren't you?
I don't know what the future of comedy is. Please help me focus this. But censorship, like my mother was a censor board chief, and I think she was really liberal. And I remember having conversations with her, and they were brilliant. They were open-minded. They were, responsible. And I was really proud. And obviously we're against censorship, and I find it ridiculous, some of the things that are happening today. Even though I remember they'd slashed a scene from a James Bond movie, and people were upset saying, "Oh, we can't see Monica Bellucci kissing this guy, so we don't want to watch English films in the theaters." And Akshay Kumar said, "This is great."
So it's
this is
nice
brilliant.
Marketing
Yes,
ploy.
yes. But ultimately, it's not great.
No.
Yeah.
But do you watch some of the comedy online? Sorry, please go ahead with your
please,
coffee.
what?
No, just do you watch some of the comedy online, which is quite, you have, we don't exactly
Not
have...
uncensored.
Yeah, uncensored stuff.
I actually
is that
haven't.
more fun? More satirical, more kind of edgy?
I don't know. It's I realize people have to be careful, but I remember watching Scarface when I was a kid on cable TV, and it's got a lot of bad language in it, the original, you know. And Al Pacino himself had dubbed, you know, fool instead of the other F word.
Yes.
And it was working fine. It was working fine because, you know, there was so many other powerful things at play. So, you know, I'm generally against censorship, but I'm not the censor board chief. I don't understand some of these things. I think you should have a certificate, and you should just, you know, if you get an A certificate, then that should mean that, you know, you can do certain things. But here, we get an A certificate and we cut and we mutilate the movie. So, and you never know what you're going to have to do until you've already finished making the film. The guidelines don't make sense beyond a point. So, it's a nightmare because you've spent money and and then you're at someone else's mercy. And you hope maybe something like Netflix and, you know, Amazon and these guys will change that. So if you want to make something without censorship, you probably will start going there.
I mean, they say that Europe or America is sort of going through this golden age of television serials, and they do some of the most incredible themes and seasons which people are binge watching and all of that. So do you see the sort of big screen surviving this phase when, you know, you and I can watch a whole film on a little mobile phone? I mean, is there still something to be said about big screen
Of course
magic?
there is. Then there always will be, but it takes people to understand the medium. It's a different medium. And that 70 screen, there's something magical about that. And if you shoot according to that visual experience is something else, not even IMAX. I mean, so everything has has a medium that suits it. There's something great about television. It's so amazing what Netflix and these guys are doing, not just for English actor careers, you know, who are really doing incredibly now. The budgets that they have, the honesty with which they make. I mean, if you take a show like The Crown, the budget for one season of The Crown was 10 times all 10 seasons of the English Foyle's War, for example.
GDP
a regular
of a quarter
show.
of a small country.
100 million, you know. But also intellectually, the show was offered to the BBC. And they turned it down because they said, we can't have the King of England coughing up blood in the bathroom in the first scene. So this is it. There's an honesty to it as well, which is why it's excelling, you know. And I think cinema will always be, good films will always have that market because they're a spectacle. And if they're made with that scale in mind, there's nothing like a big screen experience.
It's going to survive the mobile,
I feel
you
so,
think?
yes.
Okay. So coming back
I mean, in India, I mean, survival is also about quality, and quality is an issue because of whether it's the fact that we don't pay our writers enough, or there just aren't enough writers that are great and that have seen everything, that know and have that sense of structure, that when they present that script to you, you know that about 10 minds have worked on it and it's just going to be flawless. You just have to do your bit. And a successful Indian actor has to be part scriptwriter. He has to sit there and then say, oh, there's a problem on page 3, and meet and sort it, and, you know, you're Amir Khan, and then you sort it beautifully. But maybe you're not a great script sorter like me, at which point you struggle.
Yeah. There is something about also a lot of the script writing and all coming from, is it coming from migrants into Bombay, which would mean that it's richer, it's more kind of earthy, it kind of brings more of India into, you know, what could become just a, you know, the Bombay-Delhi death grip, as it were. So, I mean, is that the good side of some of the stories that are coming in now? That you have?
You know, part of what you're saying, I agree with, in the sense that Bombay is, in many ways, Mumbai is a great corrupter of culture also. I mean, I remember like people who speak Hindi and Urdu speak better when they come from the north or from this, or anywhere except Bombay. Bombay is like, ek glass pani mangta hai, humko ye chahiye. I mean, so the language gets affected. And if you live in that insular world of movies, then you lose touch with the rest of the country as well. So, and then we really respect, you know, earthy level stuff or anything genuine, and you kind of stop believing in what you're seeing around you, which is different based on other films. And you look for something genuine, but what do you...
No, but I meant in terms of stories. I mean, you said that this kind of perfect article by way of a fine scriptwriter who gives you a good piece.
I know. I'm just saying that we need great writers.
Need more story.
And I think maybe the money is, you pay actors, so everybody wants to be an actor. The director also it's a director's medium, but I think it's a function of a brain drain, like the top talent.
Yes.
Like we don't have those writers. I mean, you have people who've written books, but they don't live here. Some of them do, but some of them don't. It's just not the job where people say, listen, what do you want to do after college? Is I want to write screenplay for Bollywood. They don't say that, but I wish they would.
Yeah.
And we suffer as a result.
Yeah, which takes me seamlessly into the area I wanted to talk to you about.
Great.
Stuff that you're reading and characters that you may have read which you want to play, which you think would work, or is there any particular character that
Well, I've just
reread
reread The Picture of Dorian Gray. That'd be quite a fun character to play.
Would you get two actors to play it or just one?
No, just one. But there's quite an interesting part for the evil mentor as well, sort of. I'm also reading a lot about religion. I'm reading Karen Armstrong,
And for a nun to kind of speak so much about Islam and she's so respected amongst a lot of Muslim clerics, I gather.
Quit being a nun and then went and read at Oxford.
Muhammad,
right?
yeah, I went at Oxford, yes. But she sort of bears her experience very. What are you reading about?
It's called The Case for God. So what religion really means, and
Are you sold?
I mean, it certainly opened my eyes into certain. I started off being religious growing up in Patodi because it was out of fear. The bathroom was very far away. And so my grandmother's maid said, if you recite this kalma, nothing will hurt you. So I said, great, that'll work. So I think like a lot of people, I turned to it out of fear. Then I got I thought, surely God cannot be manipulated, and prayer is beyond a point in my mind, very much like being very nice to your mother for goodies, like you're looking great, can I please have something? So it's manipulation, I thought. And now I'm at this stage where I think there's something larger than all that. And I think despite the corruption that people have put it through, there's something about the human spirit that wants to rise and, build and be higher rather than lower. And that to me is God.
Sorry, I'd just like to read something out of what Saif wrote for our op-ed pages in 2015, I think it was, when there was this huge thing about interfaith marriages. And it's a beautiful paragraph. It says, I have prayed in church and attended mass with Kareena while she bowed her head at dargahs and prayed in mosques. When we purified our new home, we had a havan and a Quran reading and a priest sprinkling holy water. No chances taken.
Yes.
So, so is it pretty much the same drill now as well? I mean, 2 years have gone down since you wrote this.
In my mind.
In your mind?
Yes, of course. It's the simplest thing. It's what we were taught as kids by my parents. They said God is one with many names, and that's it. I mean, this trouble with these monotheistic faiths also is when you have ownership of that God and, have superiority to other people, and I think that defeats the point. There's beauty in all religions, and there's beauty in that kind of submission and the expression of it, the architecture of it, in all those things. But the minute it's not about love and it's not about, peace and it's about anything else, I mean, then I don't.
Pretty much seems to be about everything else these days.
Well, it is. I mean, it's so open to danger. It's fraught with danger, the whole idea. Because if you say that you have spiritual value, but which is perhaps more than your value as a person, then someone can manipulate that. And if you start living too much in the future, if you say that okay, whatever happens now is all right, but the afterlife is important, then people might be willing to do anything for that. So it's a dangerous proposition, but one that's fairly easy to understand, or not easy to understand for balanced, normal people. But some people don't have anything except that spiritual value, which they barter.
Yeah. So we'll soon open this to the floor for questions from the audience. But Saif, you've had a varied upbringing with your father, your grandfather's legacy, your mother, and your sisters, and at home with your wife, with your kids. how do you feel about the kind of India we leave behind for our children? Are you happy with what you see when you look around, when you read the Indian Express headlines and more? Are you happy with with the kind of world
You know,
and
like
India
I
we
said,
live
I think we have a schizophrenic growth. There are some things that are amazing. There's some things that are developing really well, and then there's some things that need to get better. You know, there's some very backward people in this country who aren't educated. There's some very backward people who are educated. I think it's very diverse, and it's always been. So it's going to be difficult to for everyone to feel the same way about the same thing. But I still feel I've lived in England. I've spent a lot of time in Europe and America, and I mean, we're first-class citizens of this country because it's our home, and I have never felt more at home or more at peace. And I think some things are also blown up a little bit when they talk about, you know, intolerance and this, that, and everything. I have a very pleasant life here, and I just wish the weather was a little cooler, that's all.
Right. So shall we open the floor for questions? So do you have mics on? Would you please raise your hand and identify yourself as you ask a question to Saif?
Hi, Saif. I'm Radha Kapoor, well, Khanna now. Really nice. Yeah, thank you. Really nice to have you here and have you speak your mind. So my question is related to the brain drain that you mentioned regarding the lack of creative talent. So I'm actually from the education sector, and I founded a school of design and innovation with Parsons School of Design from New York about 4 years ago. We're actually also looking closely, I mean, the idea is to set up schools for creative industries, and we're also looking at the media and entertainment and film sector very closely. So I wanted to know what's your advice on that? Where do you think is a need to create the specialized school, and your advice on how to take that forward?
You know, let me think about it. I have no immediate answer. But I just know that, you know, I went to my daughter's graduation from the Ambani school, and I was listening to the list of people and where they're going to college, and everyone was going to college abroad. And I don't know how many people were coming back to India to work.
We're actually a college. So
yeah.
we run undergrad and postgrad programs.
Right. So I'm saying, you know, even at a time where our family, like my father and grandfather and everyone was going to Oxford University, there have been family members in Bhopal who were very important and chancellors of the Aligarh University trying and create opportunities in India. So there's always something to be respected, and it's great. You're saying you went to Parsons and now you're trying to set up something in India.
So we actually already set up a design school with Parsons about 4 years ago, and now we're looking at the different creative sectors, and media and entertainment being one of the biggest needs.
Well, I think that's great.
Yeah, because you mentioned like you don't find screenwriters easily, so things like that. So we're looking at specialized courses to set that up.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
All the best with that. No?
Great, thank you.
हेलो।
हेलो।
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
मैं भोपाल की रहने वाली हूँ।
हाँ जी।
और एक राइटर हूँ। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आप गंगा जमनी तहजीब के एक बेहतरीन मिसाल हैं। और हमारा जो सिनेमा बन रहा है आजकल, वो ज़्यादा सार्थक हो, ज़्यादा रीच हो, उसकी कुछ अच्छा मैसेज हो। हमेशा रोमियो जूलियट या लव बेस्ड, वाई डोंट वी कैन हैव लव फॉर आवर रिवर्स, या स्वच्छता अभियान है। भारत में बहुत सारे मुद्दे हैं, विषय हैं, उस पर एक सिनेमा बनाए। आप लोग का जो सिनेमा है वो बेस्ट मीडियम है पब्लिक तक पहुंचने के लिए। तो आई हैव अ स्टोरी इन माय माइंड। आई एम न्यू टू बॉम्बे। मैं कैसे अप्रोच करूं किसको? आई वुड लव यू टू कम एंड हेल्प मी आउट।
एब्सोल्युटली, तन्वी विल टेक योर नंबर।
सो सार्थक सिनेमा जो है वो कैसे आप लोग अगर बनाएंगे? सार्थक मीन्स जो जिसका बहुत अच्छा मैसेज हो, जैसे बजरंगी भाईजान, ब्यूटीफुल मैसेज।
But see the nice message also in the box office of Bajrangi Bhaijaan. That was the biggest hit. ऐसा नहीं कि, you know, people, everyone wants to see a film like that. Yes. Everybody wants to do a film like that. But कहाँ मिलती हैं ऐसी scripts?
मिल रही है ना यहाँ। So I would love, आप जैसे stars हैं जो, they are superstars of Indian cinema, and we are privileged to hear you today. That's very kind. और आप ज़रूर इस तरह की स्क्रिप्ट पे काम करिए। and people will love. I think you should connect with the youth and the little children who are the future of India. So सार्थक सिनेमा पे काम करिए. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I mean, that's the idea, that everyone would like to do that, you know.
Hi, Saif. It was a pleasure listening to you. My name is Roshan. You spoke about a couple of your movies, a couple of them that I like, especially Ek Hasina Thi. So you were brilliant in that movie. It was edgy, noir. Sriram Raghavan was at his best in that. So, I mean, we don't see you doing those kind of roles anymore. Is it because of lack of scripts, or, what's the actual reason for, such kind of movies not getting made? Because you really use your potential over there, and you were excellent in those characters, even Langra Tyagi for that instance. And secondly, I mean, since you are such a good reader, and, do you see yourself writing any scripts in the future or moving behind the camera?
I wish. It'd be so great if you could write really good scripts and then shoot it yourself and act in it yourself. It'd be amazing.
That would be
you don't
the best.
need anybody. But it's, yeah. Like Vidhu Vinod Chopra has that a lot. Vidhu Vinod Chopra, yeah, it's just only him. So yes, it did be great, but no, I don't think I can write screenplay, and I don't think I can write. And I think there are many people who can read but can't write as well as the books they're reading.
What about the roles?
Yeah, you have to choose the best of what you're offered also. I mean, this is Ek Hasina Thi. Ram Gopal Verma was producing. Sriram Raghavan was new. The timing of things. I'm sure there'll be something else sometime. And I've always looked out for something edgy as well as something new somehow. I mean, we're actors and artists. We'd love to try something. So it's not that you're scared and you have to follow a certain path. I mean, I'd be open, but I'm telling you, you don't hear too much good stuff. And there's some 20 actors in town. The top 2-3 guys must be, somehow capitalizing the top writing talent. By the time I hear it, it's like, I don't know whether to throw something at him or to start crying.
So
sometimes.
Tell us about your new venture. You're playing a cancer patient, aren't you?
No, am I?
Oh, you're not?
No. Oh, yes, sort of.
Yeah. So
Not really. Not much of a patient, but
not a patient.
yes. Akshat Verma, who
Akshat Verma,
wrote
Delhi Belly.
is. I like the way he writes and he thinks, and I think he's directed this marvelously. So it's a really good story. It's about. It's set in Mumbai, and it's got 3 different sort of stratas of society. There's a well-to-do guy, so we speak a lot of English, like we do, and like we are. But if you take the camera out of your living room and go to your kitchen, there's a whole different world happening there, at least in my house, It's, they're speaking a different language, they've got a different worry system, different value system. And if you go downstairs, then it's something else. So there are 3 different levels. It concerns a bit of the Mumbai underworld, a kind of a, student world, and a professional kind of working world. And how the stories connect in a very interesting and sort of funny way. But it's also a little deeper. And I don't want to give away too much of the story.
Don't talk about your character or what, if you like that. No spoilers, please.
No, exactly. So, I mean, it's an Akshat Verma film, and I think he's done it really well. And, I mean, artistically, I can tell you that the cameraman has shot all 3 stories in a different way with different cameras and a different lighting pattern so that everything feels different. And I think that was really creative. So it's wonderful to be involved with people like this who give that kind of thought to the treatment of the film, because that would not have happened in 95.
Ago, yeah.
So that's a huge change
jump.
in that sense. You feel, I mean, even with Vishal and in Omkara and even in Rangoon, you can, I think, feel like an actor, because you're you're doing things that the rest of the world is, which I think is a big change. And
Can I
it's a
just
wonderful
cheat
thing.
the audience round and ask you one more question? Which of these characters, Rangoon, Ek Hasina Thi, etc., which you felt was kind of Saif, you put
I mean, they're all,
yourself.
you have to make every character you. You can't become the character. That's insane, because there'll be a reaction time lapse if you say he would have done this. Yeah, it wouldn't connect, right? So you have to make the character you. So everything's you in a way, and none of them are really, you. It's just.
Is it a close cousin, any character?
I think probably all the kind of Yash Raj movies, just little normal, where you're just playing yourself really, because there's no character that you've created. You're just trying to be the most charming version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Ask you a question.
Yes, please.
We've been talking about how cinema is changing. Right now, there are no formulae that function. Nothing succeeds based on a formula. There's web content. There's everything. Everything is changing right now. What does it mean to be a star in this time?
I think because everything's changing, I mean, like I said, there's two things happening, Either you've got to be progressive. I think you have to be part of the change. I mean, as an actor also, the choices should be not regressive, even though it could be tempting. You might say, I want a larger audience, so let me do something really silly. No, that's a joke based on my last year. Sorry. But like even a film like Rangoon, which has clearly not worked at the box office for various reasons, but I'm still proud of it because I think it's an attempt at good cinema. It's something we worked hard at. Working hard is a given, but to create atmosphere, to do things. So even the reviews were actually really kind. People said that this is great. We don't mind you failing as long as the attempt is at something special. So I think as artists, we need to push that envelope slightly and try and be more and more creative, try and do better stuff. And it's all happening. I mean, doing Chef with Raja Menon, they talk about good acting being, where you feel things and let the camera see it rather than show. So his screenplay is kind of like that as well. Now, whether it works or not, whether it's too subtle, whether it's great, time will tell. But it's a brave attempt at a new form of narration. So I think our job is that, to try and keep up with the rest of the world, to try and... I mean, Indian cinema should be right up there, I mean, there's no reason why it should not be. I mean, Koreans make great films. I mean, the rest of the world is doing amazing films. So whether it's an honesty that we need to bring to the forefront a little more in our character development, it's easy to blame the writing, I suppose, but that is somewhere the key. Did I answer the question? Yeah. To be associated with progressive stuff, all of us, I mean, not just actors, I think all able and capable Indians should be looking forward.
I am Suketu Shah. The word edgy has been thrown around several times. And in fact, when you started out, I thought there was promise of you not being very politically correct and saying things which might have sort of created that image. And you have been associated with some controversies, in a way controversies child. But I see that's not been happening for some time now, and including today's thing. So have you mellowed down, or have you become politically correct, or?
I don't want to be politically correct, actually. I keep being told that, don't unnecessarily create trouble. And if you spoke to me for long enough, I probably would say something that I believe in. But I think I'm quite sorted in my thinking. It's not, I don't have a troublemaker's mentality, or I don't have a particularly politically incorrect frame of mind or way of being, So, but I mean, as you say, every now and then there has been a bit of a landmine that goes off. So I've not avoided that. You're welcome to ask me anything you like, and we could have a slightly controversial conversation. I'd be perfectly open to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, he's taken up the offer.
Hi, I'm Satyan. I
Hi.
come from a different world. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I want to dig in a little deeper to that question, right? So we are in a country where we celebrate and Bollywood celebrities have a lot of sway. And yet we don't see too many of them taking on a leadership role of pushing for the kind of environment we want to create, right? There's a little bit of hesitation not to be too controversial for things that can shape the narrative of the country.
Is that the reason that they don't want to be controversial, or is it perhaps they don't know how to, or they don't know, or they don't know how to? How does one shape rather than do something like this, rather than talk or act or be part of certain movies? I mean, to use a platform of popularity that you have as an actor to do something else, I mean, for charity it's fine, but for politics it's dangerous.
Yeah. Not for politics as much as, you have a public podium, an audience that listens,
Yeah.
and a couple of times that a couple of actors have taken a step forward,
Right.
they've been beaten back by public opinion, right? Whether it was Amir Khan's controversy last year or whenever it was.
That was here, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry?
That was here, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
Nice. So do you think...
So far, so
Yeah,
good.
so far. Oh, who knows? I might already be in
Yes.
trouble.
Yeah.
There might already be
So
in
it's
trouble.
almost like as a group, right? What you said at the start, right?
Yeah.
That we are beaten down every time there's controversy, social media takes over. It's almost like people are cowing away from the responsibility to say we need to shape India, especially when we are well-read, well-educated, like at least a few of the actors are that I know of. Why isn't anybody stepping up, is my question.
I think we are constantly stepping up, and we're all trying to shape, I don't know if we're trying to shape things, that's a very grand kind of aim, but we contribute our thoughts, and we contribute the way we feel, and we're ambassadors for our country and our profession everywhere we go. Now, beyond that, I mean, I'm not sure what we can do. Things are also very diverse. One man's, drink is another man's poison. You can't really convince people beyond a point to... that what you're saying is right. I mean, some people might be deeply offended by my views. So I can't shove that down their throat, But I don't think I'm afraid. I can think of many people I work with that aren't really... I mean, honestly, I'm not even afraid of public opinion, really. I mean, there's so many things one hears on social media, so many negative things also that one hears. I mean, after a point, you have to stop caring, and you have to know what you're doing is right, and hope you get the guidance from friends and family like it used to be in the old days, and not look for validation from every second person online, You have to really not care beyond a point. But I don't see, I'd love to. I want to be involved in charity. I want to be do as much as I can to contribute to my country and to help people that are less fortunate than I am. But about shaping an identity with thought and all, I mean, I don't know, man. It sounds a bit much for me.
So if I can just follow up on that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you as a converse, right? How often have you felt that you've had to compromise? For instance, if you've ever had to go on a comedy show, I won't name the comedy show. I mean, the sense of humor is regressive, it is misogynist, it's everything that somebody who's as well read and as exposed as knows that it's something that I'm sure you aren't particularly proud of, but you have to do it because it's commercial, it's whatever you need to. So how often does that happen?
I would love to not go. Okay, and I sometimes don't go because it touches onto another issue, that if you're promoting a movie, do you have to lie down on the road and beg people to watch it and behave like a donkey to say, please watch my film, I'll do this, then I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and I'll do anything, and then they still won't watch it. They still don't watch it because they're not stupid. They're only going to watch it if they like the trailer, or if they like the vibe, or if they like you. They're not going to start liking you because you're playing pin the tail on the donkey with that, I mean, they made me milk a donkey, a fake donkey once.
Fake donkey.
That's pretty embarrassing, yeah. A fake cardboard donkey, and I had to kind of pull its udder and pretend I'm milking it. And I was like, please watch my movie. It's terrible. It was terrible.
That's a real low, yeah.
Nobody, I don't think, I come from the school of thought, and of course I'm usually wrong, that less is more, and you should do a good trailer, not be seen too much as an actor, and so keep a little bit of a low profile and let people watch movies. You should be known for that, and not as, it's a huge pain to have to go and try and appeal to every section and beg them to come and watch this film by demeaning yourself on various levels. So I hate it.
But do you have any ground rules for that? I mean, as you said, less is more.
I mean, if I can get away with it, I won't go. If I can get away with not going, I won't go.
Get away with it? I mean, does the director have to call you a certain number of times? Or
I mean,
when
we'll have a meeting and they'll say, okay, what do you want to do? And I'll say, listen, I'd rather not, and I don't think I'll be very good. That's the key.
Does that work?
I think that's the key, that if you send me, I might be really bad. And it'll work against us, because...
That's a good one, yeah.
But honestly, on a serious note, I think television is, a great medium that people watch. But at the same time, doing publicity for a movie is important. But to take a movie star and put him on a TV show and make him so accessible that he's not a star anymore is counterproductive. I think that there should be a mystique to an actor. There should be a presentation on screen that when you see that trailer, when you see him, he's presented in a certain way. Now, if you're milking goats, it's destroying that, in a way. Of course, it's making people think you're sporting and you're down to earth. So, but I tell you something, man. Bottom line, we live in a fear-based industry, okay? That is the motivator. The prime mover in our industry is fear, okay? People don't work out of strength, they work out of fear. So they feel, oh, I better do this, it might not, but it might. And I'm scared, so superstition. I remember when I tell you again, I don't want to sell out Amir Khan way back in the day, first movie. So somebody said, can you wear this pale blue suit? It was a really bad color. And so I said, somebody asked me, and I said, no, I don't like this color. So I thought, I saw Amir smiling. So, he said, you shouldn't say that here. So he said, you just tell them it's unlucky for you. They'll never bring it again. So I love this color, but it's very unlucky for me. Nothing works if I wear it.
Life skills that
so you got to understand.
Yeah. Hi. This is Arvind Pranjpe from the Nehru Planetarium. Slightly different here. Yeah. It's a slightly different thing since you're multi-religion kind of family. I'm doing science, watch rather real stars about the atmosphere and so on. What I would like to ask you is that in science we have a problem, and that is you question everything. But when it comes to religion, at some point in time they say that, look, you can't question that. What's your take on this? You have studied possibly many religious books.
I've tried to, yeah. So faith, I guess what is that what we're talking about?
But do you at any point in time you feel that, look, I need to question this and I don't get answer? Does it happen to you? And going a little ahead of that, do you find your friends in the fraternity believing in this kind of?
A lot of people I've spoken to haven't, I don't think, genuinely contemplated death. Not the younger ones, at least. And some of us have been unfortunate. When I lost my father, it made me think a lot. And gentleman in front of you smiling very disconcertedly when I'm saying that. He's like, no, sorry. But yeah, when I lost my father, I started thinking about, and I think about death a lot. And I think religion or philosophy is a way of dealing with that and to understand. And I mean, way back when human beings killed animals as hunters, but were very uneasy about it, They didn't feel all right to take another life. So they invented rituals and a way of kind of understanding life. And to question religion too much, I mean, I've read books that have explained that even Genesis is scientifically correct, and the Big Bang happened so far away that actually at that point it's only been 6 days, you know, and which is how long it took God to create the universe. So my personal belief is I think there is an energy, there is something that makes us want to be better, or something that makes us want to build, something that makes us, you know, create art or whatever that is, and that's all. And I think I kind of agree with the idea of karma, perhaps a form of reincarnation, I don't know. So I have a syncretic view of religion, which is a mix of a lot of things. I don't believe in a personal God. I don't believe there's anybody listening to me when I pray. And even if he was, I don't think he can be manipulated by my entreaty. This is my personal view. I think religion has caused, and the manipulation of religion has caused so much trouble in this world that logically I would rather be spiritual anyway. I believe in kindness. I don't believe in doing bad things to people, so I can sleep better at night. So ultimately, perhaps it's selfish, you know. I want to be as good as I can and hopefully leave the world a better place and contribute something, you know. So I mean, I guess most of us are pretty much the same. Science, what did Einstein say? He said, God does not play dice, right?
I think he said something like science without religion and religion without science is nothing, that kind of a thing. Yeah. But see, the point is that many a times these spiritual leaders, they take you on such a wrong direction.
Yes.
And how do you, I mean, you as well as your friends or colleagues, how much do they believe?
I don't know about my colleagues. I'm telling about me. I don't believe. I don't believe in any leaders. I don't believe in being taken in the wrong direction by someone I don't want to be taken in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but then
I usually marry them.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I personally find myself, I don't believe in anything, and yet, if I go to synagogue or a church or a temple or wherever, I really feel nice about it, the quiet and all that. But I don't believe. My problem is that I can't ask them a question. If I say that why this, they just don't say that, look, you can't ask this question. That's my question. If there's some people, okay, anyway, I think I should.
But I think, like we said, I mean, it's a huge, long conversation. Some other time we'd love to sit and chat. But, you know, like I said, if you have a value, the whole point was people who have nothing in life were told they have something. They have a unit of value for heaven, and you can trade that, and that can be manipulated. That's also dangerous. So you can tell somebody, you know, go and do this and you'll go to heaven. I mean, you know, the Rubaiyat of Umar Khayyam, which is probably an Islamic piece of poetry, talks mainly about drinking alcohol because it used to be allowed and then it was banned. I think somebody threw a bone at a mullah once while he had a few drinks and lobbed something and he got upset and he said, okay, no more drinking. It's not working. And there's one of the verses where he says, you know, they promised me rivers of wine in the afterlife. He said, but cash is better than a check. So,
but they amended that to honey and milk, right?
No, I think
so there's a bit of dairy farming that's got in there.
I mean, not my version.
No, yes, okay. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Bangladesh Deputy High Commissioner in Mumbai. Appreciation is owed to the Indian Express for having this very interesting discussion with a person whom the people in Bangladesh have been watching very keenly since we are from the land of cricket and the great actress Sharmila Tagore. She used to call as a Bengal tigress. So having the legacy from Mr. Mansur Ali Khan Patodi and Ms. Sharmila Tagore.
Tiger.
Yes, and Mr. Ali Khan, we have been watching you growing, like from your films like Ye Dil Lagi to Hum Tum to Omkara to Dil Chahta Hai. But people in Bangladesh, they remember you for one very intense role of yours. That's Parinita.
Oh.
Yes, and
could that possibly be because it's a Bengali writer?
maybe we're biased. Yes,
Slight connection.
Yes,
Slight.
I think it is one of the greatest classic of Indian, not only Indian subcontinent, also the Bengali literature, the Sarat Chandra.
Yeah.
So now that we have been seeing in a different era in the Indian movies, there are a lot of theme change, the character change, and the portrayal changes. So, but what I think that, there is no alternate to going back to classics, revival of classics, or like that role that people would like to watch movie, like, see their, like, very everyday, their emotions, their, the portrayal of, or as I can say, the way you have intensely portrayed the role, it is still being very much valued,
I really love that movie, and I really think I would love more chances, because I think the most international thing we can do is sometimes to stick to our own culture, because a lot of what we do is somehow aping the West when it comes to glamorous cinema, with the clothes and the locations, and it's kind of somehow an aspirational tourist thing. In a way, it's about a different city, Paris or Rome, and but some of the most international work I've done, if you look at it, has been Parinita and Omkara, and they're the most grounded. So we have a rich culture, and it'd be great to work in something, and most actors would be very excited to do something like that. Whether it's, maybe even Rabindranath Tagore and some of that literature in terms of short stories. There's a wealth of stuff there. And with the right budget, I would definitely look at that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Saif, I'm Deepak Sethi.
Hello, sir.
It's been a pleasure hearing you. Okay. And I'm so happy that Adda has, the Express Adda has got you into a situation where we carry one image of yours.
We've got you in a situation.
Yeah, no, we carry one image of yours, which is your characters, which is fantastic. Then there was the image of, as you said, the milkman and milking the goat or whatever it is, games that people play to get publicity. But most importantly, what we are now seeing of you is a very refreshing, very erudite, very intellectual actor, a human being. And I think that's really doing a big service to people who really you bring on the platform.
It's very kind of you to say that, but it's also very kind of you to give me the opportunity of expressing that side of myself.
Completely a privilege, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
But ultimately, Saif, it's you. I mean, the forum is there.
It's all your fault,
out is yours. So it's excellent. Anyway.
It's very kind of you, sir.
Now,
thank you.
Having said those kind words, I'm afraid you asked for it, and I'm going to pin you down.
Please.
Okay. Suketu, I think, asked you a very kind of, you ducked that also, when he asked you that, listen, are you being politically correct or whatever it is? So I'm going to ask you a very specific question. I would have asked you something on Amir Khan, but somebody has said that, so I won't do that. I think there are two, and I'm asking this in a very serious way.
Yes, sir.
There are two narratives running in our country right now. One of them is governance, economic growth, and all the lovely things that are happening. And the other one is that little fear of intolerance and all that goes with it. Now, my question to you is a specific one. The award WAPSI has been a very controversial topic. A lot of us feel that it was genuine and it was actually something where the artists and authors and everybody felt about it and said it. What's your view about it? Do you think it was something which was politically kind of trumped up and raked up, etc.? Or do you feel that the artists and all those who did that award WAPSI at that time genuinely meant it? What's your personal take on that?
Well, people have been saying that I should give my award back. And I don't agree, And I mean, obviously, and I'm not trying to be politically correct, but if an artist feels that he doesn't want his award, of course he has every right to return it. I mean, if he's unhappy with the institution, Rabindranath Tagore returned his, because of the atrocities that had happened. So if people feel outraged, I mean, I think they're well within their rights to do that. But I wish you'd asked me a more controversial question, because this seems fairly straightforward, Right. Yeah.
Absolutely your choice.
Right.
Yeah? My question is that the take that is being taken, some people feel that this was all political, it was all trumped up. My question is, do you believe that this was genuine? Whoever did it, whoever didn't do it, did not do it. And absolutely fine, no issues with that. But whoever returned his award, do you think it came from his depth and from his principles and values, or was this a political
I don't know,
ploy?
maybe it was a publicity thing, or maybe it was, or maybe it was, I honestly don't know. But let me say that we live in interesting times, in exciting times. We live in times where there's a lot of development going on, and I think a form of nationalism is very natural at this stage of development if you look at the history of the development of any nation. And something that goes alongside sometimes nationalism is to find something to fight against also. It kind of hones a society together. So we have to just be aware that these are the things that are happening, you know. And some of the more mature people can navigate their way through it and try not to get stuck in it. But I think it's clear what is happening. I mean, it's not unlike any other developing country with things that have happened. In fact, it's been a lot less violent. It's been a lot less intolerant than a lot of Western countries in a similar situation also. So at no point, I think it's a bit of an overreaction when people say, when they talk about intolerance, it's nothing new. The kind of things that have been happening in India have been happening in India since the beginning of time. The voices that you hear, maybe because of social media, are becoming more easy to hear today, but I think they've always been there.
I think there has been a difference. I mean, say 5 years earlier, 7 years earlier, you did not hear it in the same way. Same social media.
Really?
There has been a change, and I think it's perceptible. Now, how one interprets it and how one relates to it is a personal choice. But I think, to my mind, there has been a significant shift in terms of the whole debate coming up in terms of intolerance. The word has come up. See, this word never existed in a serious sense 5 years ago. It's just happened in the last 2-3 years, and you know what I'm trying to say.
You know, sir, also, you know, how old are you, may I ask? Just, you're the same, you're my father's generation, would you
Yes,
say?
I mean, say,
right?
yeah.
That whole generation was a different generation to even what's happening today. There was a different India also then. I think you guys are more, I don't know, when you talk to you're more open about a lot of things. There's a change. There is definitely a change in this generation that doesn't understand some of the things and hasn't seen some of the things that you have. So in some ways, you know, maybe their understanding is different. So there's definitely a change. But I think that change goes, fortunately or unfortunately, with a kind of development.
My name is Bhagyashree. Just want to end up with paying you a huge compliment. Yes. You are self-deprecating, and I think that's just amazing in an actor.
Well, thank you.
Hi, sir. Good evening. This is Mahesh Thakkar. I'm into finance. Okay. I loved and adored your performance in race 1 and 2. Your attitude was just really, you are a true Nawab. Coming to the question today, as you see, you said silence is golden. You don't speak because you end up in controversies. But sometimes, you know, even if you don't speak, there are controversies, you know. When there is nobody's business, it's everybody's business. The best example is that you had the naming ceremony of your naming of your child, when it was nobody's business, but at the happiest moment of your life, the whole controversy came, and how actually dealt with it. Did you feel terribly miserable and say over trespassed? Sitting at home, you know, you and your ma'am must have felt very miserable. How did you deal with that situation? It was too much, or how do you really go ahead with this? How do you deal with the social media overdoing the things?
Well, you know, I tell you, first of all, when I named my son, this is a name that I've always liked ever since I've been small. We decided, I mean, we could either have had a Western name, but I wanted to choose a Muslim name because I wanted a name for my culture. Now, we can either go the poetic route, like Faiz and Ghalib, or we can go into a kind of a royal route, like names of kings. Okay? And when I spoke to my wife about it, she loved the name, the meaning of the name, and the sound of it. Now, I'm also aware that there's a historical person with the same name. But if someone can please explain to me why that is relevant today, why what happened 900 years ago or a millennium ago is relevant today. Why are people still talking about that? How can that be connected to the name? The name is before that. He's not the only person in the world with that name. And because there's... So I don't understand that. And if I don't understand it, I think, as you say, I'm agnostic about the historical character. But I really like this name, and it's something that I believe in and something I wanted to keep. How do I deal with it? I mean, we've heard some really violent outbursts, you know, when obviously people say that I hope your son dies, that's a little, you know, little aggressive. So I have to obviously not care what they think. And sometimes when you hear criticism, you imagine it's coming from your peers, you know, at least I do. I keep imagining that it's from people like me. So I sometimes get a little offended that why are they saying this? But I don't think they are like me. I think, you know, a lot has been written about this name. There's been so many people who've spoken balancedly, liberally, and every point has been made. Just look it up on the net, it's all there. That you can't judge medieval history with the lens from today, you know, all these kind of things. It's all been done. And I don't need to add anything to that. I just have one question to ask. Why is it still relevant? You know?
Hi, Saif. My name is Priyam, and what I'm going to ask you is completely different.
Okay.
This is regarding health and fitness.
Right.
You had a health issue many years ago when you were shooting for one of your movies.
Right.
So I just wanted to know what are the lifestyle changes that you've got about yourself, and how is it that you're fighting back advancing age because you still look so fit?
Advancing age.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. No, yes, you know, like I said, I'm 46. I think I was doing a show and I felt I was smoking a lot, you know. I used to smoke a lot. And I felt a burning in my chest, and came back home and I had a couple of cigarettes and I said, oh, I have to go back to the show. If I go back to the show, I have to go left, or I can go to Dr. Agarwal's, which is right. So what should I do? If I had taken the left, I would have died. So I went to Dr. Agarwal's and he did a little test. He said, you know, I think you're about to have a heart attack. And there is a history in the family. My grandfather died at 41. My aunts died in their late 40s. So we went to Leelavati Hospital, and there was a conference of like the top heart doctors in the country there, luckily. So they got me on the table before it happened, and Dr. Mehan, who speaks Swiss German and has written books on this issue, said, listen, I'll fix it, but you have to promise me you'll give up smoking, because that's the only reason you're here. So the lifestyle change was to quit smoking and to try and eat better. So cholesterol is an issue in our family. And it's not, smoking is one reason. There's also food and, you know, all kinds of things that can lead to it. So it led to, it's probably the best thing that happened to me. I felt much, much fitter, much, much better. I don't smoke. I eat healthy generally, and I really enjoy it. And I've learned that with food particularly, it's not the feeling of what you're doing right now, like munching something nice. It's how you'll feel 2 minutes afterwards that's important too, you know. So I like eating well because you feel good afterwards as well. Yes, I know who you are.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a very important question. Do you change diapers?
I can easily change diapers. I can change diapers old school with the pins. You see, now we've got Velcro. It's like anyone can change diapers.
Have you changed?
I have changed. I've changed 3.
That's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's 1 a month.
That's all right. You know, I have to let my wife express her maternal instincts, of course. This is 1 a month.
So yeah. Gender roles, what sort of?
No, I'm just absolutely. I'm joking, by the way. There are no gender roles. I mean, you know.
What sort of dad are you to him?
Friend, philosopher, and guide. You know. No, I mean, I adore him, and I think, you know, guys always take a little longer than women, because women have had the baby inside them for so long, and there's an instant kind of connect. usually. Whereas a guy, when the baby starts looking at you and, connecting a little bit, it grows more and more. Of course, there's a emotional connect and a kind of responsibility connect from the word go. But as that connection grows, the feeling grows. And I find it a little awkward always to express that how much I love my son and how I feel about him. But with all my kids, I think the thing there is that it's a lifetime relationship and responsibility, and I have to be protective and a guide and genuinely be there always. So it really doesn't matter whether I change a diaper or not, or express my love like that, because when he comes to me when he's 16 and he's got problems here, or when he's 14, or when he's 30 if I'm still alive, that is the time when a father needs to be there and needs to be his rock like my father was. He never changed any of our diapers, but he was the greatest dad ever because you could call him anytime and he would be there. And I think to be there is the main thing. Sure, I'm happy.
Hi, I'm Preeti Kumar here.
Yeah.
Coming back to cinema, I want to ask you about editing. You've talked about directors, acting. Which of your directors gives importance to editing? And have you felt that sometimes you've done a very good scene and it has been snipped off and you're very upset?
Sometimes, yes to everything. A lot of directors have given importance to, a lot of good directors would obviously give importance to editors. Some editors become directors more easily. It's the main thing. Back in the day, it used to be a woman's job talking about gender, because it was like knitting. They used to just join pieces of film, right? And in American studios, you'd have rows of ladies editing films, just joining stuff. But when sound came into movies, it became a man's job because it became... It did in America. And then, of course, with a kind of liberalization of thought and everything in the 60s, it became a universal kind of job. But this is how editing started. Before sound, it was, because after sound, it became electrical. And it became, a more, so it can make your performance or completely destroy it or change it and alter it. It's like a magical thing. I love watching editing. And sometimes you feel like you don't even want to see what you've done because you don't know what the editor's made of it. Some directors have said, come to the office, Vidhu Vinod Chopra said, come and watch the edit and tell me, maybe I'm missing something. Which take do you like yourself? Because I'm okay with all these. But is there something you can see that I can't see because you're watching yourself even more closely? I thought that was the most generous thing a director's ever offered. It's not a normal thing. People don't normally say that because actors can be a bit vain in the editing room also. And and it's just, the camera shook a bit, but it doesn't matter. I'm looking good, But where does it come in the hierarchy of titles? Pretty much the most senior name after the director, I think, the editor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions. Yes. Yeah.
Saif, my name is Sudeep.
Hi.
Tell me your take on soft power of Bollywood. I've spent in several geographies.
I don't know why you were going to say pornography, I really thought, I thought he's going to say soft.
I've spent in several geographies, and people are glued of different nationalities on Bollywood films. And my friends from Pakistan, Afghanistan, when they tell that, they ask me, how far are you from Carter Road? How far are you from Bandra? When it is just 6 kilometers, they feel, wow. So that power, I've felt and experienced. What is your take on that?
I'll tell you what my take on that is. I think, the power we have in India in general is something that is waiting to be harnessed and expressed more and more in the future. As our economy grows, if you look at like geography, I think from Spain all the way to India has kind of historically been Eastern in kind of thought, And north of the Mediterranean's always been kind of Western. So a Bollywood film actually has influence all the way from India to the Middle East, across, Iran, Iraq, all the way to Spain and Morocco. They watch Hindi movies. So that is a function of weak international distribution, that we are not making so much more money than we should be because of international law and the kind of dealing that happens with films. There's a lot of piracy. People are watching these movies, but the revenue is not sorted. It is a parallel industry to Hollywood. When it is harnessed and when it's controlled properly, it is going to be the biggest thing in the world, because people want it. It's like food. You don't want a chicken sandwich or a steak. You want a certain masala in your food, in your diet. Similarly, in your consumption of movies, you want to be touched in that particular way. And there are continents and countries. It's not just India. So I think it's a distribution and international function of why there's not more money there.
Saif, I'm very glad you talked about your son's naming.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there's compliment to you for that name you have given to your son, because I'm from Pramod Dalvi from Kesri Tours, which is in 32 years in the outbound tours and thing. We are very closely associated with Indian Express Group, Lok Satta, and there was a competition for Vakta Dahastra Seshu, means 10,000 out of speakers. Ultimately, 10 people were chosen from all over Maharashtra. And the person who got the second award was talking on the subject, Taimurcha Barsa. You know what is Barsa means, the naming ceremony on the 12th day. He got the second prize person from Kolhapur.
Wow.
So I'm telling you that name has also created a lot of things in Maharashtra. So that's I want to share with you. This was, thank you.
No, but also I think it should define how we kind of feel. And my son will be, I hope, we will try, my wife and I will try our best, that he will be a wonderful ambassador for his country. He will be free to choose whatever religion he likes. But I want him to be a liberal, open-minded, and down-to-earth guy the way we are, And the name has been blown so much, it's so far out of proportion that people have not focused on what the name means or what it sounds like. And like I said, I have no idea why it's still relevant, what happened 1,000 years ago.
I can only bring in Shakespeare again. What is it?
I wanted to avoid that.
It's just so bad. It's a cliche, but it just works so well. Thank you so much, Saif, for your time and your attention and sharing bits of yourself. And despite
pleasure.
sort of ducking on some issues, according to some of your
people,
yeah, duck on some issues.
So, I ducked into some others.
Yeah, and of course, you landed yourself in a situation, so we will. Thank you so much.
My
May
pleasure.
I request Anant Goenka, our director, to please come and give you a small memento on behalf of the Express.
Is there anybody you are so starstruck by?
Meryl Streep. I only want to meet her. I can die after that.
Is any filmmaker who you are
not at all
inspired by?
I don't want to meet anyone.
French media people, media person, is asked me about reincarnation, about 15th Dalai Lama. Then